you're not going to see, and if you look at a lot of pictures, you see a little bit of a good mix of both. There's probably just as many of just the clean ceilings in these packages. So again, that's why we opted to go with the 2x raftered roof as the standard. But they're a very modern design. That's in part two. If you look at a lot of these, you might see in the photographs, you might see a lot of metal railings and things like that. So to start, we opted for the 6x6 post and a cable rail system. So again, just a couple things that differentiate this design from our traditional, I guess, log type designs. It's, and Manish mentioned this, a lot of times these consumers don't realize that they even are log. The outside's very dark colors. Inside, you can see a lot of them. Some of them are even painted white. So again, very modern look, dark on the outside, very bright on the inside. And we try to get as close to that design and that look based on the components that we have currently available to us. So I just wanted to kind of recap the reasons behind the no color ties, all glue lamps, clean ceilings, flush doors, lots of glass, just to kind of reiterate that. That'll be an option, but we probably have you source the glass locally out of concern of just shipping glass panels. But yes, that would be an option.
System they want to go with. Can we do like a beam and purlin exposure or just a straight log exposure with the insulation on the top?
Yeah, you could
Upgrade it.
Yeah. It's not, we're just trying to set kind of like a standard to start with. If any of our homes and stuff like that, we can modify it to, the customer does want like a beam and purlin roof system, we can do that. So there's really not any kind of limitations to what we normally do with these models. So yeah.
And just for a point of reference, the two houses we did so far, one was a 2x12 rafter roof, clean roof, blue lamp beams, and the other one was a 4x rafter roof system. So, there again, unless it's an engineering issue, we're using 4x rafters. They tend to not, in this design perspective, like the heavy timbers like we would see. We're using 6x8, 6x12s. We always err on the heavy side in terms of what our customers want to see. From a plus Q perspective, it's again clean ceilings, and if it goes to a timbered roof system, the timber frame that we're doing that one is also going to Colorado. The log one we build in Colorado, both of them have 4x rafter roof systems. So we don't see the beam and purlin. Not to say that we couldn't do it. If somebody from plus Q, that's what they wanted. Again, we can do any of that. I'm just sharing what we see. Again, from their specific design perspective. So either the 2x clean roof, or if it goes to timber, it's typically a 4x with the built-up roof system, rigid insulation.
So Linda, if you're familiar with the Castavi 125, that's like a monoslope roof. What would the roof structure be on that?
It'll be whatever the customer wants. It could be either or. It could be the 2x rafter. We have priced some of those. Jeff could tell you that he's priced them both in a rafter, 2x rafter roof, and he has priced them with the 4x built-up rafter system.
I was just wondering about the span on it. It's really long.
Yep, and if we're overspan, then we're putting a glue lamp in mid-span. Carry that, because that's the other thing, and Jeff's going to cover that. These are very, very low profile homes. That's why we don't have railings in them. Typically, the type of architecture this is, it reminds me of like a Frank Lloyd Wright. They build them and they're trying to balance them and tuck them into nature. So they're not standing up tall and high. They're low. and they have all that glass. They want unobstructed views. So again, that's why they're, as our standard, there's no exterior railing. They've been doing shingles. Yep, yep. Well, in Finland, yes, they do. Those pictures are all Finland. But here in the US, we have been pricing shingles. Surprising. Yes, yes, you can do metal, but we have been pricing them surprisingly with shingles.
Linda and Jeff. Sorry, me again. We have another question coming in via the chat line from Jason Hewitt. He's asking, what is the rafter spacing using the 4x? I would assume it would be 24 inches, question mark.
We've been pricing them like our normal rafter roofs, like 32 inches on center. Sometimes, like when you're, depending on the stands too, you know, adding the blue lamps in there to help support that. But for the most part, that's what we've been pricing this. And that's all going to be regulated based on snow loads, codes in the area, things like that. Good. Any more questions? Yes.
The 32 on center, what is your sheeting?
5/8. 5/8.
The question was, if we're going 32 inches on center with our rafters, what type of sheathing, what thickness sheathing are we using to cover that speed? The answer is 5/8 is what we're using. Good. All right, the next slide, and you guys should have one of these in your packets. You guys have all seen the default sheets. So what we did is we kind of set one up with plus pew that you can use for reference. And down at the bottom, it goes through some of the standard things that we're pricing with these homes. You're going to have all log corners with a miter style. Thank you. Corner posts included at the exterior corners based on the plan layout. And I'll kind of get to another slide here to explain that. All the windows are being priced at 400 series. It's due to, like we said, the big glass casement windows and all. Typically, there's no grills that are going to be included in this. The style of the design. No exterior railing. No interior partition wall. 1x8 TNG finished materials. Cable railing system. And the interior doors as a question. And you know, as always, this is kind of where we start out as pricing. If you're meeting with your customers and they want something specific, they want to change this stuff, you know, more than welcome to change it, just as long as you let me know and send in the request so that we price it accordingly. So, next slide, please. So this is like a detail of the cable railing. It has, you got your post. It's got a 1 3/4 by 5.5 inch top rail. Just underneath that, in between the posts, 1 3/4 by 3.5 inch piece. And then your cables are going to be spaced 3 inches on center. On the schematic over there, there's like a line that's like right in the middle of it. What that is that's like a metal support that goes in between the wood posts, which they need that in there to keep the cable rigid, basically. So it's just part of the cable railing system. Question?
Are these pre-drilled?
They are not, no. It's drilled on site.
don't see too much of that in New England, but are they continuous cables from one end to the other?
Yes, it is.
And are those pre-cut or?
It comes in like a roll. And it's just installed inside. They have like tension things on the end. So once it's strung, you tighten it up. Else? Okay, next slide, please. So on the default sheet there, I was talking about the corner posts. You can see on the red here, based on how the designs are and all the glass that these things have in them, a lot of times in the corners, you've got glass, corner, and glass. So based on how we manufacture our logs, we can't make a little tiny corner like that. So in these applications, we're supplying a solid corner post. It's going to go, from floor to ceiling. So in this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There'd be 6 of those corner posts that are connecting the house together. Some of the corners, like here, you're going to have your mitered, like a mitered corner, but based on, and again, a lot of this stuff is all just based on how the designs are of the homes themselves. So just I wanted to point that out so you guys knew when pricing that that's how those corners are going to be. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. All in all, this is what you guys want to know. How much does it cost? You guys should have one of these in your packet. These are the standard models that are in the brochure. And it has zone pricing for each one. These houses are in between, between 2 and 5%. If you were to compare it to our law, is where the pricing works out. About 2% higher than our standard models. And we tried to get like the standard INEO 100 is pretty close to clear green. Some of these designs are kind of like in comparison, but it's just such a different design than normal. But we tried to get, rough square footage and stuff like that. So it works out to be between 2 and 5%. So also, we talked about the heavy timber roof. It's about 6% if the customer did want to go like a heavy timber roof. So if they're asking you that right off the top, you can say, well, it's going to be about 6% for all package price. And another item that usually comes up is a different log profile, like go from 6x8 up to 8x8 is about 8% increase. You go from 6x8 up to. Next slide. So on this slide here, I just wanted to point out there's a couple clouded areas there. You guys have copies of like the blank estimates in there. So when you look at some of these designs, because of the way that they're sloped on it, you're going to have different log courses and stuff like that. So a lot of times when you do get one of these estimates, like under the log courses, like this one up here, so it's 14 and 21. 14 is going to be your log course, typically at the back section of the slope, and the 21 is going to be top of the slope. Just so it gives you a reference how many courses a square it's going to be. And then also, I just clouded around the pitch. These are all, for the most part, they're a low pitch. Yes, sir.
How are you doing shingles on a 2 or?
We're pricing them. We have we've done a couple out. We haven't. Issue with it.
Yeah, I
Should
mean,
be water shield the whole thing.
yes.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Right.
Anything under a 3, you're supposed to water shield the whole thing.
Most of the manufacturers have done away with the 50-year, they call them lifetime shingles now. Even Camco, it's a lifetime shingle. And we can do a little bit more research on that, but again, it's a low pitch, supply the ice and water shield. We've been putting the shingles on. We can reach out to the suppliers. The thing is, in what we found so far, is that they don't want the extra cost expense associated with the metal. They want that look, they want that low roof, but they don't want the expense with the metal. We'll do a little more research specifically on the shingles to make sure we don't have any issues.
We going to include then the weather shield? Will that be included? Yep.
The ice and water shield? Yeah, no, that'll be
That'll
automatic.
be automatic.
Automatic.
Robert asked about the ice and water shield, whether it would be included in the packages standardly or whether it would need to be requested, whether it would be included automatically. Yeah, basically I wanted to kind of just point out, like when you're getting the estimates, because of the way that the slope is on the roof, they're going to see 2 numbers, 14 and 21. It's going to be 14 is usually at the back part of the slope, and then the 21 is going to be over on the other side, kind of give you a general idea of how many squares. Typically, don't see that on like our Timber Haven kind of standard homes. So, it's like again, just wanted to.
Again, this has to do with the architecture and the design. So a lot of these are shed roofs, and they're all low pitched. So what Jeff's just trying to explain, when those shed roofs, he's going to call out those all rows to square in the same place. Establish that plane. And then if you look, like Ineo is an A-shaped roof, but even with that, I think the steepest pitch is probably 612,
That one's
maybe 8.
7.
So again, the roof pitches, you know that we're in 12, most of what we do. This is going to be the opposite.
Next slide, please. As far as the process of the request form, you're going to use the same request form as we always do. We did go in and add the 6x8, 8x8, 6x12, 8x12, 2x8, 2x12, single B to the request form. So that'll be in your drop-down menus for that. Slide, please. This is just an update to the request form itself. This is not in regards to plus view. This is just a general update. On the back page where we have the comments and stuff, there was item 1, item 2, item 3. This area is for like your options. So I just put option item number 1, option item 2. To make a modification to that. Slide. Also made some small modifications to the pavilion request form. Up at the top on the roof there's an area where you can specify whether you want fascia board on the pavilion. Wasn't an area on there before. A lot of times I was just pricing it in there. Fascia. Add that. There's another header end cut profile. Down under the shingles, there's an area where you can specify whether they want shingles, or whether they're providing metal roof shingles by others. Down in the preservative, whether it's just they want preservative and it's just to be determined, or whether it's going to be provided by others. And then down under the engineering allowance in there, there's an area, if you want an engineering allowance, you can add a dollar amount. That's all I have. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is I've been putting out the bi-weekly prices on some of the standard models. I just did one the other day too, which will be on the rep portal. And the prices actually went down again. This time, the hybrids went down about 9%, which is a good jump. And the timber frame log homes and the cabins, they all went down about 7%. So we're starting to see some of these prices on lumber and sheeting finally. So, which is helpful to all of us. That's all I have.
Just so everybody else
I'm noticing in the catalog, the sizes are metered square. Is there a quick formula to determine how many square feet? Convert your meter squared to square feet?
We do have all of these plans that are available in feet. So the hard copy book that you have, that is going to be updated soon, but you have all the plans available, uploaded to the dealer portal. So as soon as we can, we put all of these plans in feet for
Okay.
interior systems up on the dealer portal.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Jeff, we had a question about I have a question. Any of the windows on these packages tempered?
Yeah. There's always like all the ones that like in your bathrooms, stuff like that are gonna be tempered. But the big windows, they're gonna be tempered because they're gonna be close to the floor. We're running basically one log course and setting the windows on top of those. So it's gonna be within your floor line of 18 inches. So like all that big glass on the bottom level is all.
What about near the staircases?
Yeah.
Also,
Those that we follow for standard codes, like around stairs, bathrooms, that kind of stuff.
doors.
Yeah, that still follows the same.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions out there? But ask Jeff if anybody else.
Do we have any virtual questions? Anybody wants?
I don't see any other questions coming in. You guys, I think addressed every question I saw coming in already. So thank you.
But, as we mentioned, we did create a, I don't know if you have the next slide. Next one. We did create some frequently asked questions, kind of, which we did cover most of this. We will go back through some of them here, but we want to make sure that when you left here, because this is new, that if you think of some questions, you can go here first. And if it isn't something that we try to pre-ask and have an answer for you, then by all means, please reach out. In the very back of those folders that you have is Manisha's business card as well. So you can feel free to reach out to him also. But let's just take a moment here and go through some of the questions to make sure that we did capture some of these in our presentation. How will plus Q leads be assigned and how will we know they're a plus Q lead? We did cover that. It will be under your status. Will electronic brochures be sent automatically through LMS as the timber even leads currently are? And yes, same principle. We try to keep, other than the design itself, the processes exactly the same as what we do today, so that you wouldn't see any difference. When we have access to more brochures, in case you want to request a hard copy, yep, again, you have 30 to start. Price per brochure is 40 cents. What are the main differences between Timberhaven and Plusview? This is just a quick recap, and which it's also included on the standard package component comparison chart. But again, design, modern Scandinavian. The log sorting profiles will be single V groove. It's a mitered corner. The railing systems are going to be 6x6 posts, could be 8x8s as well. But either way, it's going to be a cable rail interior. And if you do need an exterior, the cable rail would be the default for the exterior. Roof systems, again, 2x12 with glulam ridge, no color ties, interior doors, flush pine, and glass. It's a lot of custom glass, custom units, all Anderson 400 series. Will the material packages contain the same brands of material as the complete Timberhaven packages? Yes. Same brand components other than what we've identified as difference. The cable rail, the flush doors, the flush pine interior doors, and everything will be 400 series to start. But again, same components, Anderson, Camco. Let's try one question. Slides.
Page, I think you need to go back one.
Will there be material estimates to go along with the homes so we can determine courses of square roof pitches, separate roof system, log versus log side? So again, the models that are in that brochure that we gave you today, those estimates are in that plus Q binder that we gave you as a point of reference and starting reference. Well, we have the pricing. Yep, the pricing should be in there as well. Jeff mentioned how these designs compare to a Timberhaven package at 2 to 5% higher. I guess to just kind of cover why we see a little bit of increase. Again, this is a very modern look, so and the components within that to create that look are a little bit more expensive. Cable rail is going to be considerably more expensive than our normal 2x2 pine balusters. So that drives that cost up a little bit. Obviously, the sheer amount of glass and a lot of that glass, because of how it's designed, requires being tempered. So that's what's creating some of that increase. Now, as we go through this and we get a little more projects and pricing under our belts, we'll be able to maybe narrow that difference down a little bit. But just a point of perspective, that's what's driving that cost up a little bit above the standard Timberhaven package. Is there any questions on that price? Are there separate forms? Well, the next question I have here is, are there separate forms for estimate requests and deposit and sales agreements? No, the forms are exactly the same. Jeff's already modified those, include the drop downs, the information in the drop downs that you need. Are the deposit amounts the same as Timberhaven? Here again, we're trying to keep everything exactly the same as what everybody's used to. Deposit amounts are exactly the same. We talked about the commission. Commission is exactly the same as Timberhaven, other than the total sales don't count towards your fiscal year or the $500,000 threshold. What if you're not interested in selling or working a plus P home sale? Again, this is entirely up to you. This is an additional sales opportunity. We try to keep everything exactly the same to make it easy to encourage and not deter, I guess, anybody from not wanting to sell them. But If you have a concern or you're not interested, that sale will just get referred back to the corporate office. Is there any way to convert the plans in the Plus P to catalog from metric TS measurements? And Manish, you're working on that. Do you have a status?
Yeah, we'll have almost, most of them uploaded to the dealer portal. We have a few new models that will be converted soon, but they should be coming soon.
Does Plus Pew provide conceptual plans for their designs that we can access? And if so, will these be accessible on the portal? Here again, they're working on that. How close are you to having those done? Very soon? Okay. Will Plus Pew designs or renderings or any other information be displayed on the TOH website? Now, here again, that's the difference. Timberhaven, that's all Timberhaven. So their Plus Pew plans, all that information, you go to the Plus Pew website. So it's again, we are keeping them distinctly from a marketing and advertising perspective right now. Everything is distinctively different. You have your Timberhaven website, those customers will go there. Plus Pew will go to the Plus Pew website. And we did include a website here. Are the Plus Pew plans designed to meet stair codes? That's a good question. Yes, I do. If you have customers that do want to see more Plus Pew plans, again, they need to go to the website. Are the Plus Pew plans designed to meet stair codes, requirements for full-time residential specs, example, height clearances, and height clearances, everything, we talked about that. So we'll redesign the stairs, the glass be tempered, everything that applies to anything we already do from a code perspective will be applied to these designs. If a Timberhaven client requests a Plus Pew log or corner assembly, can we offer these? Yes. Again, we expect there's going to be crossover between plans, systems, log profiles, corner assemblies, and if and when this does occur, just give us a call. We'll help you work through that. Same thing if a client requests a Plus Pew design in timber frame or hybrid, can we offer these? Again, yes. We do expect that crossover in the various construction method as well. I mentioned earlier that we have one Plus Pew customer shipping to Colorado that is using a timber frame with the Plus Pew log side. The next section here, we put the series of questions together based on the questions that Manish sees on a regular basis from his customers. First, regarding the large glass windows, what is the cost impact, engineering, high altitude, yet again, a lot going to Colorado and west with the high altitude glass requirements. So again, that large glass, that is a key design element. The cost associated with that type of glass, though, is slightly higher to achieve that. The glass, again, everything will be engineered in accordance with local code. So if we have a home, just even as today, you're going out west, you got seismic conditions, you're on the coast, you could have wind, whatever those design requirements are, it'll go through the same process that our current log homes do. So again, the engineering will not be any different from that perspective. It could, though, change some of the glass configurations. Another question he gets is, do you use finished wood? What species do you use? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people in the US market are not familiar with the Scandinavian wood, and a lot of literature that you see on Plus Pew website as well as other log home websites will talk about the benefits of slow growth Scandinavian wood. And the other reason is they don't like the yellow or brown shade. They want that clean, white Scandinavian lighter shade wood. You know, what we are doing in the US is purely using engineered log, which does not require the slow-growing wood, and comparatively, the log that we have is actually better structurally and stronger compared to the slow-growing finished wood even. So from that perspective, the US white pine that we use in the engineered log is actually sufficient to meet the structural requirements as well as the color requirements. Those are two reasons that customers generally ask, what types of wood do you use, what species do you use? So as we standardly use the eastern white pine engineered log, that's what we basically using. Meets the color requirement as well as the standard structural properties.
And ironically, they talk about that color requirement. Again, if you look at those photos inside, very bright, very clean. Some of them are painted white. On the outside, they go very dark. So they like the light wood for the interior effect only. The outsides are extremely dark. Is the U.S. manufacturing process similar to that of manufacturing in Finland? Yep. I mean, we're both doing the same thing. We're creating an engineered log and we're going to manufacture that accordingly with a mitered corner. Can you provide the Scandinavian interior looks?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of customers have asked for, can you give us the same exact model look on the inside as we see in these pictures? And that includes things like kitchens, flooring, lighting fixtures, the wood paneling. Obviously, the suppliers that we have in the US will be slightly different, and we want to try to find what is the best we can do to match these customers. So as we proceed with the conversations with the customers, it will be very important and helpful if you have local suppliers that you've been using and shop these drawings around, figure out if they have similar products that they can supply to you and meet the look. And we have discussions with the customer in terms of what are they looking for and match it not just to the website, what is the closest we can provide in terms of the finished look in kitchen, bathroom styles, kitchen flooring and fixtures. That look. But a lot of customers have asked for, can we do these types of interior finishes in the US? What suppliers? What vendors do we use? Also, the other important thing there is the paneling, right? So the wood paneling, we have a separate question that covers the wood paneling specifically. But in the US, we're using the 1x8 paneling that Timberhaven provides. In the pictures, you might see a slightly different paneling. If you want to explore other opportunities or other suppliers that might have any different products or paneling, you're welcome to take a look and find out what options we have available in that. But I believe in the US, we have a lot of vendors that have progressed in the modern design supplies, especially in kitchen, flooring, bathrooms, and fixtures. There's a lot of options available. We should be able to provide very close to the Scandinavian.
In the wood paneling, we are currently using the 1x8. We have a note there though, that a lot of times, if you look, they have a very narrow board they're using in their ceilings. Right now, just because of the sheer challenge it is to find and source materials, even our 1x materials, we are just starting with the 1x8. And a lot of times though, the customers are flipping it to get that narrow look and they're using the feed side. So you have more of a double 4 versus the 8-inch wide face. Can we do these without the exposed post on the interior? What this question is related to is, again, you know that when we're designing, we got long log wall runs. We're putting in the post, the wall post for stabilizers, the post between the trap glass units in the front. Again, wall stiffeners, large gables, wall stiffeners. We do a lot of that. Again, the plus Q side of customer from an architectural perspective, they don't like all those extra posts. So we are looking at it. A lot of times they are smaller footprints. We can try to work around some of that, but it will come down to the engineering. So again, here in the US, the things that we are engineering for and the challenges we have, they may still need to have some of those posts. Just again, that is a question that Manish gets a lot when we're working back and forth. We've done some plans for them. They go out, they have our wall stiffeners on. That's why. Another common question he gets, do the logs come pre-stained? This is just our normal answer. No, just for ease of handling during construction. Do you provide the dark gray and black stains? Yes, we want to be able to provide that. We have worked with QA to try to get some of the color burst additives to get closer to that. They can't get it as dark as we need. We're exploring some products actually from Finland, but we will get that worked out because we want to be able to provide those dark stains as you see in the photographs. A lot of their plans, if you look, they include sauna rooms. So a common question is, do you provide the sauna kits? That would not come from us. So again, in I guess preparation for these possible questions and calls, it would be good to start reaching out, unless you've already done some of that, if you've had customers that ask about saunas in their current homes, to find out if there is a sauna kit provider in your area. I think Nishi said a lot of times these folks are willing to give you a sample kit to share with customers.
Yes, there is quite a few websites that do sell sauna kits and very standard designs models. They provide sample kits. It's a very beautiful package that comes to your doorstep. They have all the different types of woods and colors available for the wall paneling, floor paneling, as well as the bench and seating. Again, there's a few websites that do that. That's their core business. Not very expensive, and they'll send free samples to your doorstep.
Next question, how can you customize the designs? Yep, designs can be fully customized just like we do today. Can you provide the interior design renderings as shown on the PlusQ website? Currently, the only renderings will be those that you do find. Those interior pretty design renderings will be the ones that you find on the PlusQ website.
Just to add there, a lot of customers ask, well, can we get that look, and how do we get that look for the interiors? We could provide interior designs, but the challenge is going to be, what if we can't find that same design for the supplies, for kitchens, flooring, etc., and the other materials in the local market, and then the customer gets upset, right, and you give them exactly what the picture shows. So we're avoiding giving anything else unless you tell us that these are the types of designs and materials available in the market. We want to create a rendering that's available. We avoid that back and forth.
How energy efficient are these homes? Again, this is the same response that you would have for any of our home buyer. I think that, again, from the PlusQ perspective, most times these customers are looking at the design, they don't realize it's all, once they realize that this brand and concept is all based, then that question arises. And again, that's the same answer you would give for any of our log home customers. Same thing with, can you utilize solar, geothermal systems, et cetera, to live off grid or net neutral? Sure. We've done homes that have had solar. We've done homes that have geothermal systems. So again, yep. What type of heating and cooling works best for these homes? Same thing as any of our current mobile home customers. A lot of that's driven by their preference as well and what's available in their local area. Are they someplace where there's a lot of natural gas? So same answers. Do you need extra insulation? Again, same answer that you would give any mobile home customer. So again, this is just a sampling of the questions. We hope we've captured most of them. But again, this is a very new product, very new design. So we're not going to know the questions you have unless you ask us. So even once you leave here today, if you have questions, email us, because we can continue to collect these and build those answers and continue to share them with the entire network. So we make sure everybody's as informed as possible. But you're always welcome to call as well. So call with questions, email with questions. If you call, we're going to document them. We're going to share them. We want to try to get everybody as educated and up to speed as quickly as possible regarding this new opportunity. Any questions?
Not sure if this is a philosophical question or what this is. It's probably asking for a recommendation, but low profile, right? Totally different. But if we Americanize these homes, in other words, or Kentuckyize them, we're from Kentucky, we're going to be putting them on basements. We're going to be putting forced air heating, cooling, and we're going to be totally changing the look if you do a walkout. But it's not going to be the same product. When you look in here, and you see multiple vertical fireplaces, gas or wood, you know, you can tell by looking at the roof lines, they've got it in multiple different rooms. I guess my question is, if somebody falls in love with this type of house and they come to us and they wonder, we get a lead, you know, would you recommend trying to Kentuckyize it? Or would you recommend following up more on, no, this is kind of give the customer what they want, but it's totally different lifestyle. A lot of outdoor spaces, you know, we use that pressure treated wood, right? It's just not the greatest for all the outdoor spaces. You know, they use something probably different over there in Scandinavia, probably lasts a lot longer. So you understand the question?
Absolutely. So the customer is looking for a dream home and we want to give them what they want. That's the fundamental principle we have, right? So if they like this design and we want to apply the aesthetic principles that are in these homes and Kentuckyize them or Tennesseiize them or North Carolinize them, we're absolutely open to that because we're not trying to sell a product as is. It is actually at the end of the day designed to meet the customer's dreams, desires, and what fits best for their geography, topography needs. There's no hard rules. This is just about a design principle. It's a distinctive look. When you try to look at the overall ethos of the brand and the designs once you go to the website also, you look at very distinct, it's a very distinctive profile. You know, Timberhaven has fabulous profiles and fabulous designs, and this is an additional arsenal or an additional tool in your arsenal from a design philosophy perspective. You're not selling these floor plans as is, not selling these designs as is. At the end of the day, very happy to customize these to your requirements.
Yeah, for instance, John, the projects that we have on the go, some of them have walkouts. We have one that's going to Canada, that's on piers. So we're already, based on what Manish has seen in the short time of trying to get things going in the US market, we've already seen all that type of customization.
Ed just pulled up the website. Will to be referred to on their website since we're a partner, or how is that connection going to go? How will they know to, is it strictly through your leads that will then come to us?
Yes, the initial point of contact at this point is still PlusView because there is existing marketing programs. There's a very distinctive look, appeal, marketplace, publications that we're trying to focus on to grow that customer base and lead base. So currently, we're starting off the way we have set up so far. And as things grow across the market and as we get deeper into the relationship and deeper into the processes, evolve the processes, we will obviously evolve at the times. Currently, everything is flowing through the systems that have been set up to come to PlusView. And as was described in that slide where we have the entire process documented, I will be getting the leads every morning. I'll be sending it to Bobby, and Bobby will be uploading into the process, into the portal, to the portal. And you, from that point on, everything except the conversation about the principles and design and the look, everything is exactly the same as you go through from the perspective.
I mean, overall, if you step back and look at it, it's a win-win for both of us. Plus, Peel has a US-based manufacturer now. From our perspective, they're investing in their own marketing and advertising. So from a Timberhaven platform, we're still going to continue to advertise like we do, and that's our expense. They have their own set of expenses in advertising in the Dwell magazines and the other magazines and their social media platforms, all that. So again, it's a win-win. They have that expense, they're generating their leads. We're their manufacturer, and they have enough interest now that merits expanding this and sharing that with the entire network as a benefit to support that.
Linda, with the log home shows, like they were up earlier, we gonna have a plus two at our booths. Anyway, did we talk about that?
We haven't talked about that, but that's,
Yes, absolutely. So again, as far as the promotion at shows is concerned, we'll work out the fine tuning details on how do we share, what content do we share, what's the pitch. Just like you saw the 8-page brochure, the small brochure as an introduction on the concept so that the customers start to get some of the initial answers on who's plus view. You have all the information about what is the philosophy we're standing behind, what are some of the popular models, and what are the reasons why we're working with them. All of that information that is already available in brochures can be shared at that log show. Any additional information that needs to be designed to meet the demands at that point will be discussed in future. But as we go through the process of building tighter connections, we'll go through all that.
question. The next section is open forum. We have a couple bullet points that we wanted to discuss, but I know we've been going here for a long time. I don't know if anybody needs a short 5-minute break. Please do 5, 10 minutes. Okay. It's yeah. So if everybody could just be back in about 5 minutes, then we can finish up.
so we appreciate everybody's focus and input, and so we'll try to keep things moving along here.
Brad, if you just want to stand in front of that camera, it's.
Okay, just a couple of dates on our ongoing material procurement situation. It continues to be a challenge. We are still struggling with 2x12 land material, 1x materials, kind of grooves, so 1x express, like 1x4s, 1x6, 1x8, elongated lead times, even like Anderson windows. The screens, the windows may be at a week or so to the turnaround, but the screens are out like 13, 14 weeks. I talked to Todd from Anderson last evening at the social, and he mentioned that the problem was that their aluminum was in a barge in the middle of the ocean. So again, and we've all been dealing with it, and it's not just in the housing industry, it's in every industry out there right now. Everything from going to buy a vehicle, the car lots are empty. There's just a shortage everywhere we turn. But on the plus side of all that, as Jeff mentioned, material costs are finally going in the right direction. So we can at least celebrate that part. Hopefully the material shortage soon begins to end. The other thing we wanted to talk about is just on there, somebody I think had sent a question about the differences between timber frame and hybrid. We can talk about that a little bit. I just want to remind everybody, we did put this out. We've started to see the new forms, but again, the verbiage on here in regard to material increases. Right now, obviously, we're going the right direction. We put that in there to kind of safeguard us. We got caught behind the gun, so to speak. So we're upside down on a lot of packages. That's just to kind of protect us, protect you guys. It is a challenge, as many of you know, to go back to a customer to tell them their price is going to go up for no other reason other than significant material costs that was beyond any of our control. So this kind of safeguards us. It's on the plan deposit form. It's also reiterated on the sales agreement. Just want to remind everybody, we are going the right direction, but you still hear the grumblings about maybe shutdowns, maybe this, maybe that. So we don't know what direction we're going. So for now, that verbiage and content will remain in place. Is there any questions on that?
Everybody understand how that? Just to make sure when you're sitting with a customer, so in the advent that we used to have the 6-month price freeze, so it's really important as the sales reps, we've got to be those experts to be able to guide them through. So we want to be very clear as to how we handle this. So when a deposit is placed in the past, we had a 6-month price freeze that no longer exists. And that was just due to the volatility of the pricing market for materials. So we had to safeguard against that. So if during the time between the customer putting down their deposit and getting their initial pricing, if that price goes up before they take delivery, the first 5%, if there's a 5% increase or more, Timber Haven will absorb the first 5%. Anything beyond a 5% increase will be absorbed by the client. Okay, and we will look at that initially, obviously, and when you're getting an estimate now from Jeff, back in the day, you had 30 days to be able to have that client place a deposit to take advantage of that particular price. we've backed that down to 14 days now. So be aware of that and just let your client know that up front, because they're looking to you for guidance. And if you don't tell them that price is good for 14 days, they're going to wait until you tell them it's time for a deposit. So just be really clear on that. Then we will take a look again, like 8 weeks, or like when they're 8 weeks prior to the delivery. So basically, if you set a delivery date, you're 8 weeks out, we will then again take a look at that pricing to see if it's going up or down, and then adjust accordingly. Everybody understand that? Because it is completely different than what we've dealt with for quite a long time, but it's due to the volatility, we had to make that to protect ourselves. So everybody good with that? And that verbiage, I think, Linda, is also on the sales agreement.
Any questions regarding that? I'm not sure, Brad, you know, who had the questions regarding the differences between timber frame and hybrid home product lines? I think it's Gabrielle.
There we go. When we first canvassed all of you for topics or questions,
It's Gabrielle.
and I knew it was, but I also had some questions
Okay.
with Ed.
Want this one?
Sorry about the technical glitch. So Gabrielle, perhaps you guys and John would like to share your experience that you got firsthand. Is that where some of this became apparent, where you learned, where you found out
Yeah,
what
mostly,
you didn't know about it?
Yeah.
That's the way it's gonna be. And when you start out, you gotta start somewhere, so.
we sold a hybrid home and learned a little bit more about hybrid homes than we thought we knew. So I just felt like it might be a good idea to just go through maybe some of the drop down items on the pricing request, because there are different size timbers for hybrid homes and for timber frame homes. You know, you've got the small and the larger ones, and just a various amount of different things that we didn't really know. So that's why I thought maybe it would be a good refresher just to go over those again.
Well, each of you got, again, as Bobby mentioned before, this seems like we've had this brochure for a while, but each of you have one of these, the log and timber, or the timber frame and the hybrid home brochure. And I think there's a really good illustration on the inside. If you can turn to this graphic, if you can see what I have here. And for those of you who are at home, hold on just a moment. We're looking at the center section of the timber frame and hybrid homes. And there's a really good illustration in terms of being able to show a visual to your prospective client as to the differences. And I think when you see that, or when they see that visually, it really helps give some insight to see that on the timber frame home, it is all completely heavy timbered in terms of the roof system. So structurally, everything in that skeleton is going to be heavy timbered. Whereas in the example to the right of the hybrid homes, you're going to see a lot more conventional framing for the roofing and for the exterior walls. And then you're going to see those strategically placed heavy timber accents. And of course, they have a lot of flexibility in terms of the styles and how many they want, which will also be price driven, depending on the budget and the look that they're trying to accomplish. So I think that would be something to become really familiar with if you haven't taken the time to really drill down. And then there is also on the next page a list of the differences, or showing the standard materials package, and you'll see the timber frame. You know, one of the biggest things that changes from timber frame to and hybrid from log home is we always supplied 1x8 tongue and groove for all interior wall finishes unless otherwise requested. And that's certainly not the case. That's one of the biggest questions I get. So there's really no tongue and groove spec on any of the exterior or interior walls like we do with our log homes, but we do have them usually in the ceilings of the great rooms. And traditionally with the timber frame or the hybrid, the people, your clients, want to see those heavy timbered accents. So to put 1x8 tongue and groove on the walls is almost like camouflaging, whereas with that drywall, it's really going to pop and it's really going to showcase those timber elements that they're looking for and interested in. Does that make sense? Anybody else have any specific questions that Jeff, Linda, or myself could answer in regards to the hybrid versus the timber frame at this point in time, if there's anything specific?
Yeah, and I think one of your questions was just the difference in the size of timbers. And when we're doing a timber frame, that is a structural frame. So our outside frame is going to consist of the heavier post, 8x8s, 6x8s, 8x12 perimeter frame, some 6x12 heavy roof system. When we get to the hybrid, you know, the whole philosophy was that to try to bring down cost and reach that market that liked some timber elements, but then couldn't afford the full-blown timber frame. So in order to achieve that, we were putting accents in strategic places, and we didn't need the heavy timber in that exterior frame. If your customer wants something heavier, by all means, but we're going to start in that exterior set of 6x12s and 8x12s. You're going to see 6x8s and 8x8s. And then your posts are going to be, you know, maybe 6x6s and 6x8s versus 6x8s and 8x8s. So again, it's just lightening that frame to bring costs down. Good question.
And the thing, like you'll find if you haven't, the more you delve into this, the more questions you're going to have, and that's just pretty typical of this approach. Even when you're doing a log home estimate, as you get further into it, you're going to have additional questions. But anytime you have any questions about any of these package-related items, the differences between the two, David and myself are happy to help. Linda would be happy to help. Jeff, we're not able to provide those answers, but I think we should be. Don't be hesitant. Like if you're going to have a meeting with somebody who is looking at a timber frame or a hybrid home, prepare for it. Really do your homework, and if you need help and assistance to prepare for that meeting, by all means, use the resources that are available to you, and we're happy to help.
I wanted to add, like, I know from an estimating aspect, I've gotten asked this question a lot. Well, what I'm getting as far as timbers with a, how do I know how many timbers I'm getting or how many posts am I getting, and that kind of stuff. A lot of times it's really based on the design. And it's something that you should be, you know, what look do you want? Do you want timbers in this room? Do you want timbers in your one? And if they really don't know, then just start out with something and say, all right, let's start with this, see where it comes in price wise, and go from there. Because you have all these different timbers and stuff in these houses, it's not like a standard. You've got, you know, it's really like a whole different design on the inside. So it's something you really got to ask your customers what they are wanting, because if you don't know and they don't know, how do I know? You know what I mean? You know, how do I know what to price? So, you know, ask those questions. And then, like I said, if they don't know, then just say, all right, we're going to start with these posts and this frame going down here. And we'll go from there.
Another good starting point is some of the pictures that we have within these brochures is a great way to start. Oh, I like the style of that truss. Okay, king post truss. Shows some of the angle braces. It shows some of the headers, some of the additional posts. So that's a good place to start. Plus, as you remember, Bobby saying in our on the rep portal, all of the photo links. There's a lot of additional photos that you can sit down and show and guide them through, because those visuals are very, very strong and very helpful resource for your clients to try to visualize what that's going to look like. And sometimes you learn just as much about what they don't like as what they do like, so you know what direction to point them into. Other questions about the differences between timber frame and hybrids? How many of you have worked up a timber frame or a hybrid estimate request? Okay, a few of you, that's good. So you know there's a separate form between the logs, obviously. So just keep that in mind. But again, we're here to help with any questions, and obviously from pricing and some of the really technical stuff, Jeff is probably gonna be the best one, but it's just general materials and differences, and any of us would be glad to help you. Any other questions regarding to that or anything else that is of interest or you have a concern or questions about, would like to learn more that you'd like to discuss right now?
Hey, Brad.
Hi, Bobby.
Hey, Brad. We have a question coming in from Jason Hewitt. He is asking, if you sign the sales agreement, is that price final or could it change again? Can you or Linda explain that process for everyone?
If they take delivery within the parameters set forth in that sales agreement, then yes. But if their pricing again expires, so they sign their sales agreement in 2020 and they don't take delivery in 2022, obviously that pricing would need to be adjusted. So as long as they take delivery within the parameters set forth, then yes, that pricing would stay the same.
Bobby, do you have any other questions from our virtual attendees?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything because it's been a busy chat line. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with everyone.
Absolutely. No, we're glad that all of you virtual attendees were able to join in and be a part of this today. It's kind of we're in a new space for all except for Paige. She's a seasoned veteran over there. So we're doing a great job at the control panel. So, you know, I know, like I said, you may have questions passed today. That's fine. We're a phone call away. We're an email away. We're a Zoom call away. Whatever works for you guys, we're happy to help you in any way we can and support your efforts.
Hey, Brad. Sorry,
Yep.
I don't have a question, but I do want to mention something specifically for the virtual attendees. So we do have 30 new Plus Pew brochures and log samples for each of the virtual attendees. There will be a cost associated with shipping this package to you. We don't know what that is, but I want to let you know we do have some materials set aside for you, and I'll follow up with you next week with those final details.
Perfect. So no charge on the brochures or the log samples, but if they need to be shipped, you're just referring to the accompanying shipping charges, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does Diamond Coat now are siding that comes standard with the timber frames?
Yeah, we made that change a while back. You were seeing more diamond coat requests. Materials a little easier to work with. So we did make that change over. Diamond coat is the standard for timber frames and hybrids. Unless somebody does specifically request hardy, that is still available. Any other questions? Just real quick, I wanted to kind of tag on to what Jeff said earlier. You know, we want to always put our best foot forward, and that starts with that first interaction right through getting them their first price, that estimate. So the more complete that we can make that, the more accurate, the more detail you can provide. If you're doing, you know, timber frame, we're going to run with that. We're going to size those timbers. Jeff's going to price that based on what we deem we structurally need. When you jump over into hybrid, you know, communicate what you want. If you know that customer's on a little bit tighter budget, then make sure you scale timber access accordingly, you know, in size, quantity, whatever that's gonna look like. Maybe some are just want to figure out on the outside, not so much on the inside. Again, across the board, log houses, timber frame, hybrid, the more information, the more detail that you can provide to Jeff, the more accurate we can make that first pricing interaction with the customer. That's a better chance for all of us to hopefully secure that sale, because we've all been there. You scare them away and they won't even answer your phone call. So our goal is to put that best forward and keep them engaged. So the more accurate Jeff can get that initial estimate, the better for all of us. And if you have questions, call and ask. We're all here to help. Call Jeff. He's doing the pricing. Jeff, you can call me. Brad. That's what we're here for. We want to try to always put our best foot forward. Any other questions? long day. Thank you all for your patience. I just want to extend a few thank yous. I want to thank Paige and her team. We had one swimming up. It was a great day. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that attended virtually. Appreciate that. A long day for you folks too. Joe and Eric, I want to thank them. They're gone, but they did a great job. I really enjoyed their presentations. Hope you folks did as well. I want to thank Manish for his effort in development of the brochure, effort in putting the PowerPoint together for us. Did a great job. That support, and I'm really looking forward to this partnership and what it can mean for Timberlake in the long term. I want to thank Carson for his help today. Thank you. And I want to thank all our staff. They do a great job behind the scenes, putting presentations together, literature, samples, corner displays, tidying up the shop, making sure the grounds look good. Not everybody got to stop by, but those of you that did, we put a lot of, we do keep our facility, they can, that's that, we try to keep things mowed and manicured and everything. That looks good when people are coming in and out, but we made an extra special effort to go and get everything cleaned up for any of you that did come by. We have an amazing staff. I could not be more thankful. That's for every day. So I just wanted to extend a thank you to my staff. I'm extremely proud of our team, not just in our office, but the team we have, all of you. Proud to represent Timberlake. So thank you. I just want to iterate, in order for us to be successful, it does take our vested interest and effort collectively. None of us can do what we do without each other. You need us, we need you. And this past year, a lot of you have stepped up. I couldn't be more thankful in regards to that as well. It was a challenging year to try to manage these price increases. We had some customers that didn't roll so well with some of these price increases, and a lot of you stepped up. You shared some of your commission to try to make that palatable for everybody involved. And I just want to thank those of you that did that. That meant a lot. That meant anything to our customers. We were able to retain them, and that's a huge plus in terms of us as a company and our integrity and strength. So again, thank you for that effort. And in the midst of all this craziness, Bobby touched on this, and I thank all of you. We are completely blown away. She mentioned this in her presentation. We have taken in 53 deposits year to date. So that's through the end of July. We took 52 total in 2020. We took 55 total in 2019. We've had a couple that have come in here in August. So we are already tied with 2019. And we are in the early part of August. So kudos to all of you. So there's a lot outside. We actually even have 12 new deposits on timber materials, trusses, porches, pavilions. That's kind of exciting. They continue to come in as well. So that's a huge plus. So we have a lot to be thankful for. And again, I know that I am blessed to get to do what I love each day with all of you. So thank you. Safe travels home. We're going to still be around here a little bit. So if you guys have questions, Randy's back there. Got questions about the corner. Randy, guess what? They'd like to know if we can do this with a 6x8D and a miter corner. Can you believe it? Yeah. Yeah. Jeff's still here. We're all here.
Bye. Great job, everyone.